Would you like to paint something like this really fast? In this video, I'm gonna show you how to create lava, how to create amazing rocks with this lava inside, how to create rocks in movement, and also create the texture for all the surfaces that you are watching here. And if you don't believe me, just look at this. Yeah, I'm gonna separate all the elements for you, and I'm gonna show you how to use all the Memileo brushes to create this oil painting effect but used in concept art. It's gonna be amazing to recreate all these effects, so stay with me if you want to learn a lot. Are you ready? Here we go. Okay, let's go with dirty rocks. As you can see, this texture is really cool when we want to simulate rough rocks. So if we want to paint something similar, we need first of all the structure. The structure can be done with any brush because what we're trying to achieve is just the silhouette. I'm gonna use the grainy edge because provides good edge quality. I'm gonna just create something like this, and as you can see, if I make a stroke like this, you can get holes, so you can go in other direction and you fix that. I need a secondary color, and for the upper part I'm gonna prepare a solid plane that can be used to project the texture later. So I'm gonna just create something like this. I'm gonna play a bit with opacity, and you can see already texture here. But when I use with the Memileo 3 knife grainy groups, it's exactly what it's gonna do. I select this. If I apply a lot of pressure, you can see something like this. But if I apply low pressure, I can just create this effect inside the rocks. And I'm combining the detail brush with the texture created with the grainy groups. I continue painting. This is how I texture my rocks. Easy, and you can reproduce really fast. In the video, you can see that there are falling rocks. They just have some effect of movement. So as you can see, we can simulate this effect with the grainy edge. And there are some things that you have to take into account when a rock is falling. First thing is that there are always minor rocks that are surrounding this rock. So we need to paint this difference in scale, and we need to play with three different things: scale, distance, and we need to play with rotation, adding some volume, just something like this. And remember that the background affects also the light in the rock. In this case, I'm gonna use subtle illumination for the rock, not too much, and adding more details and in different angles, different size, different length of separation, you know, adding organic variation, volume. So you have the three main elements needed to create the illustration. There is only one thing left. Let me show you. Okay, now it's time for creating the lava. So to do that, I'm gonna select this brush, the detail, and the detail by default can create something like this. And you will say, okay, how can I create lava with this brush? If you increase the size, you will notice one important thing about this brush. Look at that. It has a lot of texture. It drags the color, perfect blending. If we want to create lava, we need to follow a sequence. Fire can be just perceived in a different color ranges. And this time I'm gonna be using this strip here. So I'm gonna start creating just my base, and as you can see, I have already this type of flow effect. Follow the strip. You can go step by step, or you can jump, not using all the colors. Now I'm painting, but I'm not painting like this because that destroys the effect. I'm painting from bigger size to minor sizes using this blending ability to create this type of fire that has weight. And now I go to this value and I try to reinforce some parts, not everything. And if you look at carefully, this is following like this pattern. Let me show you really fast. It's like following this pattern. It's like different areas of movement inside the river of lava falling from the upper part. And then the latest step is to paint the highlights, the areas where the temperature is so high that is almost white, but it's not white. You can see how it's related with orange. So try to avoid white. You know why? Because I use white here when I try to modify my colors with the color cubes. The white is not doing anything. And this will be the first way of creating lava. Okay, for the second way, I have already painted the silhouette, the base for the fire with the 01. Nothing fancy. So I start to create this type of particles with low pressure, and you will see that is using texture, but not too much. I love how the texture applies and create this type of structures, more or less. Now that I have my base, I use this with tiny modification because by default this brush is something like this. Let's see what happens if I use this. While it has a lot of holes inside, maybe you like it because if you invert the texture, you can create rocks inside. But for this exercise, I'm gonna simplify this curve like I did in the last video of the gypsy lady, sewing the Memelio brushes. And now I'm gonna start, to create what you already have seen in the other exercise. In this time, I jump one position directly to the light, and this is the second way of creating effect. I'm gonna just end here with orange, making the transition to the curve and blending the rock already. The lightest part, just the highlight. And this will be the second way of creating lava. Let's go with the third one. Let's go with the third way of creating lava. As you can see, there is a super interesting texture that we can replicate really fast. If we go to this brush, by default, you get this behavior, and you can see the texture, but you don't see all the benefits of this. So if you increase the size, you start to see better the texture, and you can create that you can use it for backgrounds really fast because it creates dirty effect really fast. I love it, by the way. And as you can see, it's blending also. So good for backgrounds. Look at that. And we are going to use the 08 knife flat smooth, and I'm going to increase the size. I'm going to select the cadmium red, and you will see something that is really cool. You can see some areas painted, some not, and I can drag the content. To start the fire, I create a base. You start to add light, and then I have good edge here, and I'm gonna just create something like this. And then I go here, not the last one, and look at that. It's not the same because it's really hard to recreate the same fire, but this is something interesting if you want to create expressive fire. not a photocopy. Imagine I am creating this rock and I'm gonna create like a top plane, and you want to create lava inside of this rock. First of all, you need to define the geometry of the rock. I explain myself. If I am creating this, I'm just doing this with the surface, okay? I can move the lava for wherever path. I need to just think about my surface. If I create really fast lava here, lava is falling inside the rock. So now I need to create the rivers of lava. I select this brush, the detail brush, and I create the path. And maybe I'm going right here, just like this. One thing that is important, I need to reinforce some areas. I need to just go here and add some points where light is much intense. You want to break the rock for this direction. You can do it like this. You first decide the geometry of the surface and then the interaction is like this. I can go inside this part of the rock and I can go fall down. Okay, so you are thinking like if you are lava itself. We can add some, let me just fix this and get some little drops here and there because it's not perfect. And also we need to take into account that lava is lighting the rock. So you can have with this brush a good experience because it blends already the color by default. So when you want to light the rock, this brush is really good to do that, okay? And if you want to blend, you can just go here and you can blend with this brush, or all the brushes previously is blended. So I'm gonna speed the video so you see you in just a couple of seconds. Whoa, this has been intense. If this video has helped you to understand better how lava works and how you can paint lava and rocks and these dramatic environments, just let me know in the comments. I would like to see your test in the thread that you are watching right now in the upper part. The link is in the description. You can put your images there to show me how you want to use these brushes right now. See you in the next video, because I think YouTube is recommending something for you, and if YouTube is recommending, not always, but sometimes is a good advice.